Every night, you hand the keys of your future to a stranger, and you do it half asleep without knowing it. That stranger is the version of you that drifts in the last few minutes before sleep, replaying the day, rehearsing tomorrow's worries, building the same world on a loop. The thoughts you carry across that threshold become the blueprint your deeper mind works on all night. Tonight, you're going to learn how to walk through that doorway on purpose and use it to rebuild your life from the inside. There's a state you pass through twice a day, and you've never been taught to use it. It sits between waking and sleeping, that soft, drowsy stretch where the room goes hazy and your thoughts start to float free of logic. Neville Goddard called the practice that lives there, sleeping in the wish fulfilled. Scientists have a colder word for the territory, the hypnagogic state. This is the border zone of consciousness. Your body grows heavy. Time loosens. Images drift across your inner vision without you summoning them. And something far more useful happens underneath all of it. The critical, arguing, doubting part of your mind, the part that scoffs at every affirmation you've ever tried, begins to power down for the night. That guard is exactly what's been blocking you. Think about what happens when you say, "I am wealthy," while wide awake. A voice answers instantly. "No, you're not. Look at your bank account." That voice is the gatekeeper of your conscious mind, and during the day it inspects every thought and rejects anything that contradicts your current self-image. You can repeat a phrase 10,000 times, and that gatekeeper deflects every single one. So why do people keep affirming in broad daylight and wonder why nothing moves? Because they're knocking on a locked door. In the hypnagogic state, that door swings open on its own. The gatekeeper grows drowsy, the arguing stops, and whatever you feel and assume slips straight past the resistance into the deeper layer that actually runs your life. Neville understood this a century before the word hypnagogia entered everyday conversation. He told his audiences that the moment before sleep is the most precious moment of your day, because that's when your assumptions plant themselves without opposition. So the real question becomes, what have you been planting? Most people lie down and unconsciously rehearse lack. They replay the argument, they count the bills, they imagine the meeting going wrong. Night after night, they program the exact reality they say they want to escape, then wake up confused that life keeps handing them more of the same. The mechanism was always working. It was just working against them. Consider how that drift usually goes. You finally close your eyes after a long day, and your mind doesn't go quiet. It opens its files. The thing your boss said, the reply you should have given, the number on the screen you'd rather forget. You think you're just unwinding, but you're actually rehearsing a self, and the deeper mind takes every rehearsal as instruction. So the same person who wants more wealth spends the most receptive minutes of the night feeling poor. The same person who wants love drifts off feeling unwanted. The hour of greatest power gets spent confirming the very thing they're trying to leave. Here's where it turns. The technique itself is almost embarrassingly simple, which is precisely why people dismiss it. You construct a single short scene that implies your wish is already fulfilled. The having of it, never the getting of it. If you want the new home, you skip the signing of papers and the hoping for approval. You feel yourself walking through your own front door, kicking off your shoes, the keys already warm in your hand. The detail that makes or breaks it is the point of view. You see through your own eyes, from the inside, the way you experience any real moment, rather than watching yourself from across the room like an actor on a screen. That single shift is the difference between daydreaming and impressing the subconscious. Daydreaming keeps you a spectator. This makes you a participant. And there's one anchor Neville insisted on above everything else: touch. Pick a physical sensation that would only exist if your desire were already real. The handshake that seals the deal. The weight of a ring on your finger. Your partner's hand in yours. The steering wheel of the car. Sound deepens the drop, so a track retuned to 432 Hz on a tune, link in the description. Playing low in the room gives your body one more frequency to settle into, and you feel it all vividly, until it stops being imagination and starts feeling like memory. He called this the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and he ranked feeling far above visualizing. A picture fades. A felt sensation sinks. Why does touch outrank everything else? Because your deeper mind speaks in feeling and sensory impression, rather than argument or fancy language. A vividly felt experience carries the same weight to the subconscious, whether it happened in the world or only in the dark behind your eyelids. That's the whole secret hiding in plain sight. The subconscious treats a scene imagined with enough sensory truth exactly the way it treats a real event. Now hold that thought, because it raises an obvious problem. If your imagined scene has to feel that real, how do you reach that depth without falling asleep too soon or jolting yourself back awake? This is the craft most people never learn. You have to ride the edge. The hypnagogic window is narrow. Catch it too early and your busy mind is still arguing. Wait too long and you're unconscious, the scene dissolving into ordinary dreams you won't direct. The skill is staying right on the knife's edge of sleep, drowsy enough that the gatekeeper has clocked out, awake enough to hold one scene steady. Neville described entering a state akin to sleep, a controlled drowsiness, lucid enough to choose, sleepy enough to slip past resistance. Start by letting your body go completely still, sink into the heaviness instead of fighting it. Let your breathing slow on its own. When the first hazy images begin drifting in, uninvited, you've arrived at the threshold. That's your signal. Now gently bring in your scene. And here's the part that separates the people who get results from the people who quit in a week. You relax. The moment you try hard, you tense up, the gatekeeper wakes, and the door slams shut. The whole approach is built on letting the scene play softly rather than forcing it. You loop your tiny scene like a song stuck on repeat, the same few seconds, over and over, with feeling, until it carries you down into sleep. A short scene beats a long movie every time. 3 or 4 seconds, the door opening, the phone call, the single sentence someone says to congratulate you. You repeat that fragment over a sprawling story. The mind locks onto a loop far more easily than a screenplay, and the looping itself is what deepens the impression with every pass. Picture the scene as a needle settling into a groove on a record, tracing the same arc again and again until the path is worn permanent. Each repetition cuts the groove a little deeper. By the time sleep takes you, the track is set and your deeper mind plays it back through the entire night while you rest. But repetition alone isn't the engine. Conviction is. And this is where the inner work gets genuinely demanding, because nobody can fake the feeling of certainty. You can run the scene every night for a month, but if underneath it all, you're quietly hoping rather than calmly knowing, you're broadcasting hope, and hope, examined closely, is the polite admission that you don't have something yet. The subconscious records your dominant feeling, not your words. So a scene played with secret desperation programs. Desperation, no matter how perfect the imagery. This is why sleeping in the wish fulfilled demands more than 5 minutes at bedtime. It asks you to guard your inner conversations all day long. Neville called this a disciplined mental diet, and he meant it literally. What you chew on mentally between sunrise and midnight becomes the emotional fuel you carry to the threshold. 16 hours of resentment and self-doubt will overpower 3 minutes of performed serenity every time. That's a hard truth, and it's also where your real power lives. Notice what this asks of you during the ordinary hours. When the doubt rises mid-afternoon, you catch the inner sentence before it finishes. When you catch yourself narrating the worst version of the evening, you revise the line, gently, the way a writer crosses out a flat draft. This is the unglamorous discipline beneath the dreamy bedtime ritual. The scene you run at night is only as strong as the inner climate you kept all day. A few people manage this through sheer feeling. Most of us have to practice it like a muscle, catching and correcting again and again, until the kinder inner voice becomes the default one, because it means the bedtime practice is the seal on a day rather than a substitute for one. The drowsy minutes before sleep are the most fertile, yes, but they harvest whatever you've been growing since you woke. Tend the field all day, then plant the final seed in the dark. Let me name the place most people stumble, because you'll meet it within the first few nights. You'll lie down, build your scene, feel a flicker of something real, and then a thought arrives. This is silly. It's not working. Nothing's changed. That thought is the gatekeeper making one last patrol before bed. Don't argue with it. Arguing wakes it fully. Simply return to your scene, to the feeling, to the touch. Soft persistence is the entire game. There's a quiet patience this practice demands that the louder corners of the manifestation world skip right past. You assume it's settled and you live from there rather than refreshing reality like an inbox each morning to see if it arrived. Checking is doubt wearing a curious face. Every time you wake and scan the world for proof, You confess you don't believe it's done. So you let the assumption harden into the background hum of your days, the way you already trust the sun will rise without once worrying about it. That casual certainty, that's the texture you're after. The feeling of something so ordinary, so already yours, that you'd be mildly surprised if it failed to show up. You never lie awake anxious about whether your own name belongs to you. You just know it. Reach that same flatness of conviction about your desire, and the work is essentially finished. So picture the two thresholds you'll cross tonight. The first is the edge of sleep, that drowsy gate you now know how to use. The second is the gate you've crossed carelessly your whole life, the one where your last waking thoughts spill into the dark and quietly draft the next day. You've been pouring worry through it. Now you know better. Tonight, when the room goes soft and your thoughts begin to drift, you'll keep that moment for yourself, instead of surrendering it to the day's leftover noise. You'll choose your scene. You'll feel the handshake, the key, the embrace, whatever single touch says it's already done. You'll loop it gently, without strain, riding the edge of sleep until the groove is cut and the record plays on without you. The deeper mind was always listening at that hour. Every night of your life, it took dictation from a drowsy, distracted version of you who didn't know the microphone was live. That ends now. You found the controls. The hand on the dial is yours. So the only thing left to decide is the one thing no technique can decide for you. Which self you'll feed to the dark tonight, knowing it's the one who'll be waiting to greet you in the morning.